So with that, Katie or Kelly, would you like to start us off?
Sure. For everyone, thank you for joining us today, everyone who came, and then as well, thank you for whoever's watching this webinar in the future. Hopefully, you're here for the Mariner Sea kayaking trip that's happening this summer. We're super excited. It's going to be an amazing trip. The purpose of this is just to give you some information and give an opportunity for people to ask questions about whatever they need to know to prepare for the trip. So, with that said, let's begin. Starting with some introductions. Luke, would you like to start?
That sounds good. So hello, everyone. My name is Luke. I'm the director for Manitowish. That means that I'm accountable for all of the Outpost trips, as well as all the programs run through our trips house for our summer camp trips also. And I get to help supervise and support our staff with the help of a fantastic team that includes Kelly, who will introduce herself in a moment, as well as our gear room and food room staff, our trips house director, and our assistant trips house director, and a number of other trail staff. I started at Manitowish coming up on a month ago now, but I've been working in outdoor education for well over a decade. Everything from leading canoe trips in northern Minnesota as well as Ontario to running a ropes course at another YMCA camp in Western Massachusetts, and working at front country outdoor education places and a variety of other programs as well. I most recently spent the last 2.5 years running the outdoor education department at a college near St. Cloud, Minnesota. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to you, Kelly.
All right, my name is Kelly Huber. I am the Outpost program director for this summer. I grew up with Manitowish. My family went to the Memorial Day weekends, work weekends, all the way growing up, and then I was a camper for a couple of years before I joined the Outpost program, went up through the Outpost program, and worked as a counselor here for 4 years. After that, I moved to Oregon, and I did a bunch of different outdoor education and nature education jobs, most recently at Oregon State University, managing their gear room and leading trips with them. But I'm back here at Manitowish, and I'm so excited to help get these outpost trips on the water and into the mountains this summer. So now on to what you're really here for. Let's start talking about the trip. So the trip is going to start with everyone showing up on the 28th of June. Your trip leader is going to greet you. You get to meet all your trip mates. It's going to be phenomenal. Then you have the swim challenge. The swim challenge is the same as it has been every other year that you've been at camp. So you get to go through that and just get all settled into camp for the couple of days where you're preparing before you go on your trip. The next day, you're going to have a full facilitation day with the leadership team. This is to help you form your group into a solid powerhouse of a group that can get through anything you're going to confront out there in Lake Superior. You might do some low ropes, you might do some high ropes, maybe just some get to know you activities. It'll be great. The day after that, you're going to have a shakedown day where you get to feel out and test your gear as well as improve any skills that you need to know for improve your kayaking skills. So that's practicing T-rescues, doing wet exits, doing some fancier paddling techniques, all of the above. Somewhere in there also, you're going to have a day where you do your food pack out. So you work together as a team to pack out all the food you're going to be taking, which is quite a lot for a 26-day trip. And then also you're going to pack your gear, and then you test all that on your shakedown paddling day. Some notes about your traveling. Your trip is lucky. It's a pretty simple trip. It's not that far comparatively. So you spend from the 28th to the 2nd of July getting ready with all the things we just talked about, the in-camp preparation, and then you depart camp and you drive to the North Shore of Lake Superior. You start paddling the next day, enjoy a lot of quality time with Lake Superior, and then after 26 days on the 28th, you're going to be picked up and you drive right back to camp, and you have a couple days to decompress, to get your stuff unpacked. Then you have the paddle in, where you get to see all of your friends and families and share with you the amazing journey that you just had. And then the next day you depart on the 31st. Okay, let's talk a little bit about where you're going to be. So the trip is on Lake Superior. You're going to be starting on this year. You're traveling from east to west. So you're going to be starting somewhere in this area and paddling along the northern shore to the west, over here somewhere. It's going to be a really cool place. I'm so jealous. I was looking up a lot of the different sites you're going to see. You're going to be going through Lake Superior Provincial Park, which it has big cliffs. There's lots of waterfalls. They have some cool beaches. It's apparently known for trout fishing. So if you're into fishing, that's a good place to do it. Then you're going to go to Puckasaw National Park, which is kind of a cultural hub, and they describe themselves as a natural wonderland. They have sandy beaches, untouched natural beauty. And another really cool point is that you're gonna see and go through Sleeping Giant Provincial Park. Sleeping Giant Provincial Park has some really cool geological features, most notably the Sleeping Giant, which is just this big thing that you're going to be just seeing for days as you approach it paddling. It'll just get bigger and bigger as you get closer. It's supposed to be stunning. So it sounds like it's going to be beautiful and amazing. Let's go back to Luke to talk a little bit about what daily life will be like on the trip. Luke, you are muted right now.
Yes, I am. Great call. Thank you. So daily life on the trip, we're going to be having groups waking up in pretty decently early in the morning to try and get out on the lake. As you make your way through the day, that's when that wind really starts to pick up. So we want to try and make sure that groups are getting as many miles through as possible before that water and wind start to get churned up a little bit. Average distance for the day is anywhere between 10 and 20 miles. And that also depends on things like the conditions of the water, what the weather's looking like, if you are stopping and getting to enjoy any of the beautiful sights or waterfalls along the way, or just the different conditions that your group is encountering. Lake Superior is absolutely massive. So it definitely feels like you are out truly sea kayaking, but with the benefit of being able to drink the water upon which you are floating. So talking a little bit now about some of the weather that you're going to encounter, you will probably encounter pretty much all sorts of weather short of snow, probably. It is still possible that you might get out there, but it's definitely less likely. Some much more common forms of weather include fog, rain, wind, lots of sun that can go from anywhere from in the 60s or 70s to getting warmer up in the 80s or 90s, depending on what the day and the weather look like. That being said, you might get some really good tailwinds depending on your direction of travel and what the wind looks like along the way. So that could help you out. The water that you're going to be traveling through can, as we mentioned, get kind of churned up and make it a little more challenging to paddle through. It can also be super calm. Regardless of how turbulent or calm the water is, it will pretty much always be cold. Lake Superior has such a large mass that it is pretty much always cold. And depending on where you're at in the trip, you may or may not be able to experience some like small amounts of tides because there is just that much water in Lake Superior. We're also going to be monitoring back here at camp for any potential more significant weather hazards that might include high winds, that could include wildfires, that could include flooding, anything like that. We are in touch with the ranger team at Puckasaw. We are monitoring that online, and we will be pretty regularly providing that information to the leaders as it's relevant. While you are out there, you are likely to encounter a variety of wildlife. As Kelly mentioned, there's some great fishing in various spots. Other forms of wildlife that are common around Lake Superior and along the shore include deer, wolves, foxes, also a multitude of different types of birds that you will undoubtedly see quite a few cool ones while you are out there. One thing that we encounter on some of our trips and much less commonly on our sea kayaking trips is bears. I believe that looking back through previous trip reports, we had, I think it was one bear encounter in the last 3 years. So a much lower frequency as compared to things like our Western back trips or our trips that travel in some of the more remote regions of Canada. So much less concerned about those. That being said, your leaders will still be following some pretty clear-cut guidelines that we get from the national park rangers for Pucksaw National Park in terms of cooking, food storage, carrying food in bear-resistant containers, disposing of trash properly, things like that. So yes, we expect very low amounts of bear encounters, and we want to do our best to keep it that way for both our benefits and that of the bears. With that, I'm going to pass it back over to Kelly.
Awesome. All right. So I want to touch a little bit on the re-entry process. I know the trip hasn't even gone out yet, but it's something that's important to talk about even before you go out. Coming back after such a formative, long experience with just this small group of people for so long out there in the wilderness, that it can be overwhelming. It can be overstimulating to come back to modern society. And it's just really important, both as participants, to be gentle with yourself, and also as parents or guardians, with the people who participated on the trip, just to be gentle with yourselves and be mindful of that as the post-trip process happens and you get ready to start school again and all that. Just give yourself some grace there. Yeah. So moving on from the entry, let's talk about what you're bringing on the trip. Now, we have a very thorough packing list that's on the website. If you haven't found it, I highly suggest you go look for it there. And if you're having some trouble, please ask us. We can send you a link. And so it goes in a lot of detail there, but I wanted to touch on a couple of things that are crucial from our perspective here today. So starting out with the passport, you are going to be in Canada for the majority of your time with camp this summer. So it's absolutely essential that you bring a passport, and not only a passport, but a passport that has more than 6 months to go until it expires. If a passport has 6 months or less until it expires, and you will not be able to leave the country at all. So please be mindful of that. Make sure it's not expiring soon, and you need to bring it, or we can't have you go on the trip. And that would be maybe the worst way, one of the worst ways to not get to go on this epic adventure. So passports. Like Luke said, there's a lot of variation in the weather and the temperatures that you're having on this trip. Having a good rain jacket and rain pants set up can make or break an experience. I know that the kayaking trip also usually wears splash jackets that we supply, but nothing quite beats a rain jacket for when it is absolutely pouring rain. So for your rain gear, we want it to be Gore-Tex or there's some really good other 3-layer waterproofing systems, but it has to be a solid waterproofing system. And ideally, when you're getting it, make sure that you can fit all of your other layers underneath it. Because if you're having a really chilly day and you will need to have your base layers, your puffy, and your fleece on, you want to make sure the rain jacket can cover all that. So keep that in mind as you go. Speaking of the puffy jacket, you are going to be paddling, and it's probably unlikely that you wear your paddling jacket while you're paddling. Sorry, your puffy jacket while you're paddling. But either way, you're around a lot of water and it's apt to get pretty wet. So we highly suggest that you bring a puffy jacket that's synthetic fill instead of downfill. Downfill is really nice and it squishes really small until it gets wet, and then it does not keep you warm at all. Whereas synthetic fill will keep you warm even when you are soaking wet. So keep that in mind with your puffy jacket. You need to have a solid layering system, like I mentioned. That's the base layers, the mid layers, the fleece, top and bottom. You might not need to use all of it if you end up having a really warm summer, but it's better to be safe than sorry. And either way, they can just make your nights a lot more comfortable. Something that I wanted to touch on about the clothing aspect before I jump back into some more kayaking specific features are whenever you are getting a clothing specific, a piece of clothing, you want to consider if you're going to be using it during the day for wet clothes or during the night for dry clothes? And if it's the answer is both, then you should bring a second one of those. So if you want to have a baseball hat or a bucket hat of some sort to protect you from the sun, and you want to use it day and night, you should probably bring two of those. Same with a knit cap, same with gloves, anything that you're considering that way. You might need to bring two of them. So just consider it while you're packing. Um, Onto more kayaking specific clothing items. Wet shoes and booties. So what shoes that you want to wear while you are kayaking is up to you a little bit. We do have a list of preferred items on the website, on the packing list. The main feature thing is that it has to have it has to be a boot that will keep you warm. It has to have a good tread so you don't slip, and it has to be comfortable sitting in a kayak all day. It can be a neoprene bootie with a supportive sole, or there are some more tennis shoe-like water shoes, but they can be more expensive. So, but on the other hand, you don't have neoprene on your feet all day. So just really consider what's best for you and your budget for those, because either one will work great. Moving on from that, within your boot, you're going to probably want to be wearing neoprene socks as an extra layer of warmth. So those are really great. When you are paddling, your hands can get pretty cold, not because of the arrow, but because of how cold the water is. So there's a number of different things that you can use to protect your hands while paddling. Neoprene paddling gloves are a great option. Some people just don't like their hands getting wet at all. And in that case, having some sort of warm paddling glove with a rainproof knit over it can work. They can be kind of expensive though. The last option that you have are pogies. And if you don't know what pogies are, they're basically neoprene mittens that attach both to your wrists and over the shaft of your paddle. So you're gripping the paddle with your full bare hands, but overall your whole hands are protected by the neoprene. It's a little hard to describe. I suggest Googling a picture of it. They're a fun option, honestly. Okay, moving on from kayak specific items into some more gear. Dry bags are gonna be what makes sure that you have sleeping bags and clothes that are not soaking wet. So really make sure that those are not only very waterproof, but also that they are a size that will work well with kayak packing. Remember, in a kayak, you want to pack lots of small items. So we suggest that you bring dry bags that are no bigger than 20 liters so that they will fit in the boat. We also really suggest for your sleeping system that your sleeping bag dry sack is also compressible, as well as being a dry bag, because sleeping bags can take up a lot of space. Something that's a little unusual compared to a lot of other trips is we have breathable shorts and shoes listed on here for gear. That's something like a cotton pair of shorts. Honestly, boxer shorts are great. Or shoes that are breathable. They still have to have a full toe box and a heel strap, so it can't be a croc with holes, but there's clogs that have back straps and stuff that are good. And that's because you are going to be wearing a wetsuit all day. And it's really nice when you get to camp to just have something that's breathable cotton, and let your feet breathe and let your whole body breathe, and not just be wet all the time. So those are something to think about. I mentioned your sleeping system. Let's dig into that one a little bit more. Your sleeping bag should ideally be 15 to 20 degrees. We do suggest, just like with a puffy, that it's synthetic fill instead of down. Same reasoning. You also should, it's unnecessary, it is not required, but a sleeping bag liner can really be helpful because it adds some warmth at night, and it also makes sure that your sleeping bag lasts a lot longer because it's a lot easier to clean everything. Your sleeping pad is something that is, I think, underrated because some people think it's just for comfort, but sleeping pads are super important because they insulate your body from the cold ground, which is where you lose most of your heat at night. So a good sleeping pad that's not going to inflate is a really crucial part of your sleeping system. Okay, on to some optional items. One of the things I wanted to mention about optional gear is we supply a life jacket, a paddling jacket, a paddle, and a wetsuit. If you have those of your own that you really love and you would like to bring and use instead of ours, that's totally fine. Feel free to bring it. Your trip leader will check it over and make sure, I'm sorry, check it over and make sure that it fits the specifications that are required, like the wetsuit is thick enough and the life jacket has to be type 3. for the trip. And if they don't, then you'll have to leave them at camp. We'll put them in storage and you can just borrow ours. So yes. Comfort items. So comfort items can really affect your experience on the trip. It's something that brings you comfort or gives you a way to process things. It can really help. Sometimes it just brings you joy or something to bond with your trip mates with. So some things that people in the past have highly suggested are journaling or photography. That really helps you kind of keep track of everything that's going on. And I honestly, from my trips I did in Outpost, I still look back on those pictures and on my old journal with fun. Like I read it occasionally, and it just brings me a lot of joy to remember everything that I went through. So I can't suggest those enough. You can also bring a book. You can bring a Kindle if you would like to as well. Have a whole little library with you. People have been known to bring instruments. Honestly, the world is your oyster and what you want to bring on these, as long as it's something that you are willing to try to fit into a kayak. And yeah, if you have any questions about an optional item that you would like to bring, shoot us a note or just bring it with you and we can decide when you're here. And just like if your life jacket that you bring doesn't work, we can store it if it ends up not going on the trip. I realized I forgot to mention fishing gear. You can bring your own fishing gear. We do not have any to supply for you. If you do, our trip leaders will help you get the permits that you need to go fishing while you're on the trip, just on the way up there. So yes, I think that's everything I have about gear. Luke, do you have anything to add? Or are you good? You good? Okay, got a thumbs up. Let's move on to pre-camp preparation. So a lot of people before these big trips, um, some people really want to exercise a whole bunch and make sure they're really fit for the trip. And that can be good, but you don't want to push it too far. We also have people that have said that they didn't do anything before the trip and they regret it. So finding a happy medium is really ideal. So you want to make sure that before this trip you're active. You don't want to push yourself too hard. I think one of the worst things would be to injure yourself because you were trying too hard to prepare for the trip and then you aren't able to go on it. So doing some biking, doing some yoga, walking around, if you have access to be able to do some paddling, casual paddling, that can be good too. Warm up those muscles. Just make sure you're active every day. Make sure you're a little fit. But don't do anything crazy. It also can really help to break in your new gear. I know the kayaking trips don't have hiking boots or anything like that that you really need to break in, but just getting yourself familiar with it not only can make it so that you are getting physically ready for camp, but it also can help you mentally prepare for camp, because as you are breaking in the gear, you can kind of figure out how you're using it and make yourself have the most efficient system before you even get on the trip. Speaking of mentally preparing for yourself, this is for the participants. So parents, feel free to listen, but this is more for them. And I really want you to think about, this is a long trip, okay? You're doing something kind of crazy. You're going out for 26 days. You're going to be paddling with all these people, and it can be, you can think about a lot of things. So I want you to think about, before you get here, what can you do to be kind to yourself on this trip? What can you do that could be bringing those comfort items that we talked about, something that will make you feel connected to the people you love, or just make you feel like you're at home. It could also be something like sending yourself a fresh pair of socks and a resupply. That could be absolutely phenomenal. You're halfway through the trip and you get a fresh pair of socks. That's so great. Um, so think about that. Think about what you can do to make yourself have a great experience from that perspective. And then the other thing I want you to think about is, what should you bring with yourself figuratively, not physically, to build a community with your trip mates. So this could be something like, what attitude should you come in with? What communication skills can you use to form those relationships and build an experience that everyone can enjoy? There's no answers that are correct or incorrect necessarily. Just, I would like you to think about it as you're preparing for camp and on your way up to camp, because you're going to work as a team and have an amazing experience. And these can just help you glide into that. All right. Moving on from that, one more thing of pre-camp preparation. We have a short video that we would like you to watch about how to do a wet exit from a kayak. We find that wet exits from kayaks can be a point of stress to people, and this video is just a very simple instruction guide on how to do it so that you can mentally prepare yourself that it is not too scary, and we will work with you if you're nervous about it. So we're going to watch it real quick. Let's hope the video works. Okay, so that's a wet exit. It's something that you will be practicing on your shakedown paddle day before you even get on the trip. So if that's something you're nervous about, we have a team that can work with you really well to make sure that you're more comfortable with that situation. But yes, so all right. Finally, one of the final things we have to talk about are some upcoming communications. As you all know, June 28th is opening day. We're so excited for y'all to get here. July 31st is going to be closing day, and July 30th is the paddle in. So, to parents and family, we will be contacting you with a schedule and an RSVP link for the paddle in within the next 2 weeks or so. We also would like you to keep an eye out for any more emails from Camp Docs, just in case we're missing anything. Yeah, keep an eye out for that. You can also look on Camp Docs for information about trip insurance. Trip insurance is something that we highly suggest, especially for these longer trips. If you have any questions about that, please contact Kayaking Christofferson. She has all the knowledge you could possibly need about it. Okay, and with that, we're going to open it up to any questions if you have any. I know you've been having some issues with sound, Addison, so you can type it in the chat if you need to, but no, you're good. Awesome. Cool. Well, with that, thanks for coming. We're excited for you to get here. We're excited for everyone to meet each other. And yeah, Luke, do you have anything to add?
Asin, thank you for being here. For everyone else, hopefully watching this afterwards, thank you for taking time to watch this. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out to Kelly or I. No question is too large or too small, and I can't wait for everyone to get here and to be at camp. But thank you all for taking the time here.